Hello, Dr. Dai and fellow students. My name is Alejandra Jurado, and I'm going to be exposing my graduate research project. In this presentation, I'll be looking at Android acquisition from Google, and with help of a staffing model, be able to help the company go through this process in a successful way. So this is my presentation outline. What you can see in here is the staffing model that I'm going to use. So in each slide, I'll be talking about a specific model and a recent article related to each topic, where I can find solutions and adapt it to the acquisition of the company in this century. So here's a little introduction gathered with different articles like Google made its best acquisition nearly 17 years ago and Google Android acquisition. So Google acquiring Android and implementing a specific staffing model. The main goal of this staffing model will be to align the newly acquired company's workforce with Google's corporate goals and culture while addressing the challenges and needs specific to the acquisition. So the hypothesis statement is that a well-structured staffing model tailored to the unique requirements of the acquisition will result in a successful integration and a strong cohesive workforce. So Google started out as an online search company, but it today provides more than 50 internet services and products, including software for smartphones and tablets, as well as email and online document production. Over the years, it has purchased several businesses, but today I'll focus on when Android was bought. Google bought Android for about $50 million in 2005. Android was an unknown mobile startup at the time, so the move raised eyebrows. In this project, I will be talking about Google, the central company of the group, has joined with Android, and now I'll be analyzing and researching with articles different strategies on how to carry out the organization after acquisition. My first step would be evaluating the company's goals. So the first is an article discussing Google's future plans and potential changes in its strategies. Google is focusing on ambient computer, expanding its hardware industry presence, and diversifying its advertising efforts. As we can see, several changes are happening in Google's goals, including a focus on ambient computer, affordable hardware, and expansion into e-commerce. Now, Google lacking concrete data or official statements to support the claims. So my suggestion is that these should adapt to Google's changing strategies, embracing new opportunities like creating mobile apps and focusing on voice devices. Our method is that present observations and speculations about Google's future plans without referencing specific studies or data. So Google is aiming to reshape its presence in different industries, including hardware, advertising, and user interaction. These changes could impact the workforce by creating opportunities in app development, voice technology, and e-commerce. So my recommendation is that individuals and businesses should consider aligning their strategies with Google's, involving directions such as exploring app development and voice-enabled technologies. As for why Google decided to buy Android, it's likely that would help greatly expand its core search as a business platform in the 21st century. Open sourcing Android helped allow Google's operating system to live on a variety of mobile devices from mobile carriers around the world. I can say that adapting to these new changes in the company and maintaining open communication with employees will be crucial for Google's success in the evolving 21st century landscape. Now, in my second step, that is identify the challenges your staffing process might face. I found these articles that covers a recent massive layoff at Google, and the name is Google Employees Scramble for Answers After Layoffs Hit Long Tenure and Recently Promoted Employees. So, the challenges and uncertainties faced by Google employees due to a massive layoff which could impact the company's culture and workforce dynamics. So this article covering the aftermath of a large layoff at Google, highlighting the concerns and questions raised by employees regarding the criteria and impact of the layoff. I would say that the limitations in this article are reporting on the immediate aftermath of a layoff, potentially lacking a comprehensive overview of the situation. In my opinion, is that this doesn't provide specific suggestions, but highlights the challenges employees face in understanding the reasons behind the layoffs and seeking of clarification. So this is based on news reporting and employee interaction within the company, offering insights from those directly affected by the layoff. Emphasizing the potential impact of layoffs on Google corporate culture and employee morale, highlighting the challenges of maintaining a productive environment during organizational transitions is key. Also, it is important for Google to communicate transparently with its employees during periods of change and provide support to all those people affected by the layoffs to ensure a positive work environment and actually minimize negative impacts on company culture. My third step is analyze the current position of your company. I found this article that says, what happens to employees when an acquisition occurs? And the second article I found says, dealing with job loss after merger acquisition. So, what I could analyze is that the impact of acquisitions on employees is actually very, very critical, considering for both organizations and their workforce. So, this study aims to explore the implications of employee acquisition within the context of business mergers and acquisitions. So, the hypothesis is that employees undergo different changes in roles, benefits, and job security during and after the acquisition process. These studies have examined the effects of acquisitions on employees. Research by Thomas and Ferris, one of the articles. They highlight that around 30% of the workers face redundancy post-acquisition. Also, this doesn't necessarily lead to job loss due to potential role transitions. Adding up, this emphasizes the importance of clear communication during the transition period to alleviate employee anxiety. Additionally, indicate that strong leadership and adaptation to change are essential for a successful post-acquisition integration. Some studies focus on the immediate aftermath of acquisitions and may not capture long-term effects on employees. But furthermore, the literature tends to emphasize quantitative data, potentially overlooking qualitative aspects such as employee morale and well-being. Adding some more information, In the article, they suggest that employees should showcase specialized skills to mitigate redundancy risks. They also recommend maintaining open lines of communication between leadership and employees. And finally, they propose developing effective change management strategies to support employee adaptation. This study adopts a qualitative approach using a thematic analysis of existing literature. It aims to synthesize findings from multiple studies to draw comprehensive insights into the impact of employee acquisition. Talking about broad search, I also have to mention that this study delves into the consequences of business acquisitions on employees, focusing on shifts in roles, benefits, and job security during and after the process. The central hypothesis suggests substantial changes in employee experiences amidst acquisitions. While certain workers face redundancy, immediate job loss isn't always inevitable, with effective communication and leadership being instrumental in mitigating concerns during transitions. The 21st century workforce faces challenges associated with uncertainty, resistance to change, and potential loss of key personnel. The implications for organizations involve the necessity of effective communication, so strategic planning, and proactive measures to retain employees' moral and well-being during periods of transitions. I want to give some recommendations. I would say communication, because maintaining an open and honest communication throughout the acquisition process helps alleviate employee anxiety and uncertainty. Second, developing a comprehensive change management plan, because implementing strategies that support employees in adapting to new roles, processes, and leadership. Third, focusing on employee well-being. For example, offering counseling or support services to employees facing changes to roles. The fourth is retaining key personnel, identifying and prioritizing key employees to ensure their retention and continued contribution to the organization's success. And finally, plan for long-term integration. Beyond immediate changes, consider the long-term effects of the acquisition on employee moral, productivity, and organizational culture. In conclusion to this topic, the impact of employee acquisition during mergers and acquisition goes beyond immediate job security concerns. Organizations must navigate changes in roles, benefits, and leadership to ensure a smooth transition and maintain a motivated and engaged workforce. Effective communication, change management, and employee well-being initiatives are essential for achieving successful post-acquisition integration in the 21st century workforce. So my next step is identify your company's needs. In the article, how do you spot what's missing in your business strategy? I found it very interesting. So I found out that the process of gap analysis is essential for any company to identify and address its shortcomings in order to achieve its desired performance and business goals. So this research aims to explore the implications of the acquisitions of Android by Google, focusing on the identification of gaps and needs within the company and how they were addressed after the acquisition. The hypothesis is that Google's acquisition of Android might have faced different challenges related to gaps in strategic planning due to diligence, integration difficulties, lack of involvement of top management, and inadequate communication. Mergers and acquisitions have been considered effective tools for revenue growth and increased market power. However, Various studies in the mergers and acquisitions highlight potential challenges, such as overrated synergies, lack of due diligence, strategic deficiencies, integration difficulties, and inadequate communication. And this may lead to failed mergers and acquisitions. I have to say that this research has some limitation. The study might be limited in scope due to the fast-changing business landscape, and the findings might not be universally applicable to all the mergers and acquisition scenarios. But overcoming with the limitations, the implications of the Google and Android acquisition on the 21st century workforce may include challenges in adapting to new conditions, potential job security, and the need for effective communication and involvement of top management to ensure a successful merger. The study will shed light on the importance of addressing gaps and needs in mergers and acquisitions transitions to create a cohesive and productive post-acquisition environment. So, based on this research, I can make several recommendations that can be made to improve the success of Android, for example. First, I would conduct through diligence to avoid overpayment and ensure accurate information exchange. Second, I would develop a well-defined strategic plan and clear objectives for the acquisition. Third, I will invest in effective communication channels and involve key stakeholders at all levels. Fourth, allocate sufficient resources and efforts to overcome integration challenges. And finally, engage top management actively throughout the mergers and acquisitions process to ensure effective implementation. The next step is highlight what the team structure currently lacks. In the article, Reasons for Failure of Mergers and Acquisitions Deal. When negotiating a contract, a lot may go wrong because there are drawn out and complicated processes, and that's the truth. There is danger that the shareholders of an organization might go into legal trouble by voting against the mergers or by objecting to the merger itself. As a result, the corporation would operate substantially more slowly and would be forced to compensate the shareholders by paying assessments. So, the fact that the acquirer depends on the target firm to offer information that isn't always ideal for their management is another issue that comes up during the process. Another issue is the integration issues that businesses typically have when a new business must adhere to or accept a new set of requirements and laws in order to establish itself in the market. So, society has an extremely difficult time adjusting to changing circumstances. To assist the business in adjusting to the changing environment, several plans are developed in the form of strategies. Due to inadequate effort and poor planning, this integration might occasionally be the cause of the merger's failure. Lack of communication between important managers and staff is another example of poor communication. Every time a business engages in a merger or acquisition, the purpose and aim should be openly and plainly disclosed. Any questions should be answered up front. Everyone in society should be given a chance to voice their opinions. Messages ought to be taken in a broad sense and understood using common sense. Moreover, there are other considerations such as cultural misfits, problems with the human resource base, geographical limitations, and outside concerns. Mergers and acquisitions may be a potent tool for boosting a company's profitable if everything is done carefully. To ensure sustainable and predictable development predictions for the future, businesses should be aware of the elements outlined above before making the mergers and acquisitions jump. So, recommendations based on this research. First, I would conduct in-depth case studies and interviews with key stakeholders involved in the Google Android acquisition to gather specific insights and data on the identified gaps and needs. Second, I would analyze the impact of the acquisitions on Google's workforce, addressing issues such as job insecurity and cultural integration. Third, I would provide practical recommendations for future mergers and acquisitions transactions, considering the specific challenges faced by Google in acquiring Android. Fourth, I would explore the role of technology and digital tools in mitigating mergers and acquisitions integration difficulties and improving communication. And finally, I would investigate the long-term outcomes of the Google Android acquisition to assess the overall success and effectiveness of the merger. My next step is put together a solution. In the article, Mergers and Acquisitions, Common Challenges and Solutions. So, to help the company plan ahead, I'm going to cover several common challenges that organizations often face during mergers and acquisitions, as well as the steps I recommend to help avoid and overcome them. After acquisition, there are difficulties and restrictions that I will be outlining the best course of action below. For example, technology has, in my perspective, always moved quite quickly, and Google is always coming up with new ideas. The Google technology, which in this case is a great fit, may not be supported by an earlier or out-of-date version of the Android operating system from Google. A second aspect would be taking carefully into account lack of appropriate assessment of the complete impact that technological changes would have on stakeholders, and the wide employee base is one of the main reasons mergers and acquisitions fail. Another term is the tenant coexistence. That is time frame that is typically included in the mergers and acquisitions transactions. This is a period during the post-merger integration when different staff groups will be needed to utilize several tenants simultaneously. That period of cohabitation is highly disruptive and has its own distinct set of difficulties. Concerns such as this can lead to disengagement, increased stress, and productivity loss among staff. Now, tackling problems like this and coming up with solutions, I would start with the first I would recommend doing is discovery timing. This is a discovery phase that should be a component of your first due diligence for any acquisition deal. The best strategy is to carry out the technological discovery followed by the discovery of people and culture. The second is gap analysis, as I did before in one of the slides. The third is communication plan. It's crucial to put out strategy for informing individuals who will be impacted about the impending changes. Sending communications on different occasions and via different channels will guarantee that the recipients of the messages get them. Staff that are experiencing stress and uncertainty during the integration process can benefit from this. The fourth is training strategy. So you should also make a strategy for training several staff members. Better employees will participate in training session if they have several changes to do so. As a result, they will be better ready to use the new system when they instructed to do so. The answers I have offered will aid in the success. Although the mergers and acquisition process might be challenging, there are several benefits. Success, in my opinion, hinges on individuals embracing new technologies and cultural shifts. Making a strategy that assists in foreseeing and dealing with difficulties might be the difference between failure and success. The next step is adjust the recruitment strategy. In the article, Talent Acquisition Strategy, I will start saying that the success of talent acquisition in an evolving business environment requires a strategic approach that goes beyond simply filling positions. A well-defined talent acquisition strategy must include a strong employer brand, a streamlined candidate experience, and a focus on long-term organizational goals. This literature review will explore key components of an effective talent acquisition strategy and provide recommendations based on the research to adjust the recruitment strategy for Android, the company acquired by Google. In the first is defining a compelling employer brand. Employer branding is crucial for attracting top talent. A strong employer brand communicates the company's values, mission, and culture to potential candidates. It helps differentiate the organization from competitors and creates a positive impression in the minds of job seekers. The second is streamline the candidate experience. A seamless, positive candidate experience is essential for successful talent acquisition. Employers should audit and optimize every point of contact with candidates, from job descriptions to automated messages, creating a consistent and engaging recruitment process. In the third step says, show, don't tell. Instead of merely stating their workplace is great, organizations should demonstrate their positive culture and benefit through real examples, highlighting low turnover, pay equity, growth opportunities, workplace flexibility, and employee experiences that can attract candidates who resonate with the company's values. Blogging about company culture and featuring interviews with current employees can provide valuable insights to potential candidates. My fourth point is to have a clear understanding of a business goal. Aligning talent acquisition with organizational goals is critical. Understanding the skills and traits required for each department and involving stakeholders in the hiring process can lead to better talent identification. The fifth step is cast a wide net. And this means that diversifying recruitment sources and considering alternative channels can help organizations reach untapped talent. 6. The next is hire for skills, not degrees. Shifting the focus from academic degrees to skills-based recruiting can lead to better job fit and improved performance. The last one is boost talent acquisition with Great Place to Work certification. So, obtaining Great Place to Work certification can enhance the organization's reputation as a desirable employer and attract more candidates. Certification validates a healthy and engaged culture, providing a competitive advantage in the talent market. The literature review of this step is based on existing research and case studies. Also, to enhance the recruitment strategy for Android after its acquisition by Google, it is essential to apply the following suggestions. The literature review is based on a comprehensive search of relevant research articles, case studies, and best practices related to talent acquisition strategy. Various reputable sources included academic journals, industry publications, and company websites that were utilized to gather insights and recommendations for the recruitment strategy adjustment. As my conclusion, The 21st century workforce is characterized by a highly competitive job market and a diverse pool of job seekers. Organizations must adapt their talent acquisition strategies to attract and retain top talent. Building a compelling employer brand, focusing on candidate experience, and aligning recruitment efforts with long-term business goals are essential for success. By following these recommendations, Android can enhance its talent acquisition strategy and effectively attract, engage, and retain top talent in the competitive 21st century workforce, contributing to the success of the organization within Google. I will start by saying that I'm gonna go a little bit over 25 minutes presentation, but it's gonna be all worth it. So in my next step, hire good fits, not good resumes, I found the article called 75% of human managers have caught a light on a resume. The second article is called Why Recruiters Should Ditch the Resume. And the third one is How to Identify Candidates with Transferable Skills. I will start saying that the traditional resume is no longer the best way to evaluate candidates. Soft skills such as communication, teamwork, and problem solving are essential for success in the workplace, but they are difficult to measure through a resume. A candidate may have an impressive list of qualifications and experiences, but if they lack the soft skills necessary to work efficiently with others, they may not be a good fit for the job. There is a growing body of research that suggests that the traditional resume is not an effective way to evaluate candidates. A study by Career Builder found that 75% of human resources managers have got a light on a resume. Another study by the Society for Human Resource Management found that only 20% of employers believe that resumes are an accurate representation of a candidate's skills and abilities. One limitation of this research is that it is based on self-reported data. It is possible that some candidates may have exaggerated their skills and abilities on their resumes. Also, the studies were conducted in the United States, so the result may not be generalized to other countries. Based on the research, there are a number of suggestions for how to improve the way we evaluate candidates. And these are: the first one, I feel is the best one, is using alternative methods to evaluate candidates such as skills assessments, video interviews, and social media. The second one is place a higher value on soft skills. And third, recruit and hire for potential. I would say that the research for this paper was conducted using a variety of methods, including a review of the existing literature on the topic of evaluating candidates and a survey of HR professionals to gather their opinions on the best way to evaluate candidates. Also, case study of companies that have successfully implemented alternative methods of evaluating candidates. I believe that these recommendations will help companies to identify and hire the best possible candidates for their open positions. It is also important to place a higher value on soft skills when evaluating candidates. Soft skills are essential for success in any job, and they're often more difficult to learn than technical skills. Finally, I would say that it's important to recruit and hire for potential. A candidate who may not have all the skills necessary for a job today may be able to learn those skills quickly and be successful in the role in the future. In my last step, retain your employees, I found the article called 6 Ways to Help Employees Adapt to Change in the Workplace, and the second article is called 8 Ways to Retain Employees After a Merger or Acquisition. In today's rapidly changing business landscape, retaining employees and ensuring they remain engaged and adaptable is a crucial challenge, particularly during significant events such as mergers, acquisitions, or technological advancements. This paper explores strategies for retaining employees, focusing on the acquisition of an Android company by Google and subsequent the challenges and opportunities it presents. So, the leadership review delves into existing research on employee retention, change management, and strategy specific to mergers and acquisitions. It explores the impact of technological advancements on workforce dynamics and the need for adaptable skills. This paper focuses primarily on the context of an Android company being acquired by Google. The recommendation strategies discussed may have varying applicability to different industries and contexts. Additionally, the research is based on existing knowledge up to September 2021 and may not account for developments beyond that day. But I want to say that the methodology employed for this research involves a comprehensive analysis of existing literature, case studies, and expert opinions in the field. Concluding, I want to suggest that successful employee retention during major organizational transitions like mergers and acquisitions hinge on a multi-phase approach. Upskilling, clear change management communication, technological integration, agile workflows, a pro-learning mindset, and fostering innovation collectively contribute to a resilient and engaged workforce. These strategies not only enhance employee satisfaction, but also drive organizational performance and adaptability in the 21st century workforce. I would say always, inspire employees to contribute creative solutions, allowing the organization to lead and innovative and responsive to disruptions. By implementing these recommendations, organizations can position themselves to retain their employees effectively, capitalize on their skills and potential, and navigate transformative events with resilience and success. Concluding and giving my personal opinion, I just want to say that with this project, I hope I demonstrate critical thinking by analyzing the challenges, evaluating existing research, proposing a well-structured staffing model, and providing evidence-based recommendations. Now, the application of Bloom's taxonomy is evident through the synthesis of knowledge from peer-reviewed studies and the creation of a novel staffing solution for the hypothetical acquisition. The limitations and suggestions also showcase a reflective approach to the research process. In this hypothetical scenario of Google acquiring Android in the 21st century, before this actually happened in real life in 2005, the process of implementing a specific staffing model is explored. So, the hypothesis is that a well-structured staffing model tailored to the acquisition's unique requirements will lead to a successful integration and a cohesive workforce. To support this hypothesis, a literature review draws on all these peer-reviewed studies focusing on effective staffing model for mergers and acquisitions and the impact of organizational cultural fit on mergers and acquisition success. Acknowledging the limitations of the project, which include the absence of contextual differences, the methodology combines qualitative and quantitative approaches involving interviews and surveys with key stakeholders and employees. The proposed staffing model emphasizes identifying and retaining key talent, promoting cultural integration, establishing career development, fostering diversity and inclusion, and building a strong employer brand. The recruitment strategy will prioritize cultural fit and future potential over past experiences, while the focus on employee retention will include competitive compensation, skill development, mentorship, and inclusivity. These are all the references I used throughout my presentation. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much.